Welcome back to the channel. Got an exciting one here for you today. Something we don't get to talk a lot about too much is Mizuno, just due to the fact that unlike most club manufacturers, they don't come out with a new series every single year. Kudos to Mizuno. They're one of the few companies that every year we don't get a new iron from them. So the Mizuno Pro family will traditionally run about 2 full years, which as fitters and builders, we love that. We know we're not fitting for 9 months, and then 3 months into the release, they give us a phase out date. So them, Titleist and Ping, all do a great job with spreading out their life cycles. And also, they've done a fantastic job with this new lineup. In the new lineup, we've got a 245, a 243, and a 241. I'll kind of get into that here in a second, but it's a family of golf clubs. A lot of times when you hear the name Pro, you think, oh, here we go, another iron only for tour pros. But this family, that's not the case. Starting with the 245, we've got a nice hollow body design here. So you can see the bottom of the sole still plenty wide. That's one of the big changes that they've made from the original HMB. If you guys remember, Mizuno kind of made this HMB a few years ago, hot metal blade. So it's still hollow body, but they've redefined kind of the workings of the sole, and they've got a little bit more heel and trail relief. So even though you've got that nice wide forgiving sole compared to a traditional, the 241 here, that blade, the turf interaction has gotten so much better. Now this is the club that they do make all the way up into a 2-iron, which is pretty cool. And what's really unique about the 245 this year is from the 2-iron through 7-iron, there's a suspended tungsten weight in there. So they've been able to kind of change the acoustics of the iron, control the axis of which it comes out launch angle wise, and also spin rate by moving that strategic weight around. So some of the weight that they lost by grinding it off the sole of the golf club, they've put back in there with that tungsten weight. So I would say probably the 245 is going to cover anywhere from a 0 handicap, obviously, probably even to some 12 and 13 handicaps based on ball striking, or even maybe a combo set where we go 7 through pitching wedge with 245 and maybe throw a hot metal pro 4, 5, and 6 in there. So one thing that's really great about Mizuno is you do have all these options to make combo sets, to change loft, lie, and swing weight. And this club, they do also make in left-handed. So lefties are not being left out this year. So really excited for that we can get them in both right-handed and left-handed players. Going to the next iron, we've got the new Mizuno 243, and this thing looks awesome. So kind of a cult classic iron Mizuno made was the MP25, and you can kind of see notes of that and kind of a mixture of the H5 with how they've cut this muscle and then kind of inserted that weight there. It's actually a micro slot along some of the long irons here. Same thing, the whole story with this new Mizuno Pro is all this redefined work on the sole of the golf club. So even though the irons are getting smaller as we progress down in the family, we're still getting the functionality of each series has its own shape this time. So it's not a cookie cutter thing. They really took their time and due diligence and really considering turf management with these iron sets. One thing that the 243 has been real good at is loft gapping. So a lot of times when you get into these blades or CB irons, a lot of people have to kind of tweak a lot of lofts. So you may have to play weaker wedges and stronger long irons to hit your same target numbers. But with the way that they've designed this cavity, especially with those micro slots in the long irons, those slots have helped cut some of that extra spin rate down, so we're not noticing those 20, 30-yard gaps between clubs. And again, if we're talking about comboing, you don't have to change the loft from the 241 to 243 or from 243 to 245, which is really cool that you don't have to really take that into consideration while going through your fitting with these irons, because the less you have to think in a fitting and the more you can focus on ball striking and feel, obviously that makes our jobs as fitters and coaches a lot easier. And what's kind of interesting with this iron specifically is if you followed Mizuno's story the last few years with hot metal, they've used chromoly. So it's kind of a way of working the metal plus the material being used. This iron actually has some forged chromoly in it mixed with their normal, I believe it's 1025E boron material. So you're actually getting multi-materials now used to really alter sound and feel. So out of the bunch, that was pretty unique that they added this with that 243. And then the last iron's a 241. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a Mizuno blade. That's their bread and butter club. It's, the same thing here on the bottom. I'll try to show it. You can still see that tapered sole from the toe back leading edge, so that heel relief going down to the heel relief, excuse me. I mean, it's just a beautiful iron. I mean, you can't say enough about Mizuno blades in general. They kind of set the standard. And that's what they were trying to do with this. I believe that, the 241, it was more of a redefinement rather than a replacement of the old one, especially with the success that they've had the last couple of years across all major tours. They didn't really need to change the blade too much. Plus, regardless if a marketing team's going to tell you this or not, you can't do too much with a blade than what's already been done, aside from maybe changing the metal or the material. And one thing that Mizuno does is that they have that copper underlay system. So that's part of the other reason why they have the slogan, "Nothing feels like a Mizuno," is that copper underlay allows the club to be really receptive to, even when you hit it off the toe, you're not feeling quite as punished for that. So as far as like all together as a family, if it's kind of nice, it's simple, and sometimes in golf that's actually a good thing. But even though it's simple, with all this technology that's been packed in this family, it's gonna make fitting a lot of fun. Me personally, I've been fortunate enough to kind of spend some time with these in the bays, and the 243 is probably my favorite club because you've got that mixture of, it looks like a blade, it's still spinny enough to where you can manipulate shots with it, but there's just a lot of forgiveness packed in there, and maybe like a 245 long iron, but that 245 is hot as a rocket. So when testing, just make sure that you're wanting to hit certain numbers. Let your fitter know, because you may fit into a 243 but want a little more forgiveness, and we get in there and that ball speed's so fast. That's where we can manipulate lofts, make a shaft change, and really try to dial in your complete set with this story. So we're going to hop into the GC Quad Bay with Nikki, get his initial reaction, and see some numbers on these irons.
What's going on, guys? We're here. We're going to be testing the new Mizuno Pro series. We have the 241, 243, and 245. We're going to see they've made some enhancements based off the shaping, overall feel of the club. That's Mizuno's biggest thing. It's all about feel, sound. Sound is feel. So we're going to see. We're going to start with the 241, which is their blade, their muscle back iron. It looks like a classic Mizuno. I mean, just shelf appeal. It's there. We are good to go from there, so we're going to see how it feels. Overall, it's a very rounded shape. You can definitely see, and especially in the 241 compared to the 221, that we have a much more rounded toe area. To me, to my eyes, it looks a little shut, but that's kind of a classic blade look for you. Good launch, a little low spin, but hit pretty solid right off the gate. A little toe strike. In their scoring irons, they did put a little more CG back in the head to help bring the ball flight down a little bit, which is nice for a blade. That was better. And I know I'm on a mat, but I'm definitely getting some fighting with the sole. It feels very squared off through the strike. Also, probably doesn't help that these are about 3.5 degrees more upright than my current set. But hard to argue that ball right there. I mean, I've been playing the Apex MBs for almost 2 years now. I mean, a blade feels like a blade. What I like about Mizuno's, it definitely feels soft coming off the face. And that's the carbon steel that they use and the carbon underlay that they have in these irons. No complaints so far other than the new sole just feels... Something just feels like it's fighting. It's fighting me. Like that. That's just dead heel in the ground. Terrible shot. That's the only thing that kind of worries me about this blade, and kind of with how I swing the club with my hand path getting a little left. I feel like when the soles get very squared off, that heel, this leading edge kind of grabs and that face just shuts down. But I think what has helped them with that is they tried to round the toe a lot more so you don't see how squared off this new tour proven sole they've introduced, especially on this 241. Uno mas. There's the toe strike. All in all, I mean, great sound, great feel, soft. I'm interested to see kind of with the 243 and the 245, since they're a little wider soles, kind of with that square off, if that will help kind of that relief getting out of the ground. As far as the blade goes, feels like a Mizuno blade. It's a Mizuno blade. I mean, you can't really go wrong with this. I've had some really good ball flights in there, some good spin, good launch. I'm typically a lower spin player with how I de-loft the club, but the launch is there. So let's see how the 243 feels. All right, we're going to test out the 243. This is their Tour cavity iron. This is more for a player that wants the workability of a blade, but wants a little more forgiveness when they get into that toe side of the club, and especially as you go into their longer irons. Their longer irons, they have added the chromoly to the longer irons, which just kind of helps a little bit with ball speed off of those off-center hits. So wider sole. Still, every club, all in their series, they have a new sole design. So this just has that kind of trail edge relief that you get with the wider sole. So be interested to see how this feels. I gotta stop saying that word. Interesting. That word. Interesting. Interesting. Behind the ball, this looks better to me. They definitely thinned the top line from the 223 to the 243. So I know that's been kind of a big customer feedback that we see in the fittings, is that top line on the 223 was a little wider. That was hit well. Ball go far. Hard to complain about that. Overall, it has a lighter feel. I mean, I'm swinging the same shaft. This is a shaft I play, the Acra Steel 125. Compared to the 241 to this, it has the swing weight feels a little lighter. For left. That being said, it was on the same trajectory as the other ones that I hit. I mean, typically my left miss is low and left. That one still got 115 feet in the air. I mean, this iron's made to help somebody get a little bit more ball flight, but still kind of keeps that workability within the shaping, like the 241. I mean, I don't really need to hit anymore with this. This one, I like how they thinned the top line. They made the blade a little smaller, so all in all, this right here kind of feels like a home run out of the gate. It feels a lot better to me, this is just my personal opinion, than the 241. Just based off of turf interaction, I would go into this way before I would the 241. Good. Cool. We are moving on now to the 245. I'm really excited to see what they've changed with this. I mean, all in all, the 225 was a new version from Mizuno, hollow body design, but still kind of has that traditional Mizuno feel. All in all, they've definitely thinned the top line of this compared to the 225. So for those of you that are looking for a blade, a more performance blade, this should definitely go into your fitting matrix for sure. Little larger head. Still kind of has that traditional Mizuno offset, which is nice. I mean, what we can expect out of this is miss hits. I mean, ball speed's going to go up. Ball speed's going to go up. It's a larger head. So for like that one, that was hit pretty far off the toe, 10 millimeters toe. And to still get 178 carry out of it, it's pretty decent. It's pretty good there. Same thing, they've changed the bounce of all the irons with the new Tour grind on them. So the 243 and the 245 has 1 degree more bounce per club compared to the 241. The only thing is this is definitely for somebody that maybe is more of a picker, more of a sweeper. The This 7-iron's 30 degrees of loft compared to the 243's 32, 241 is 34. So it's a little stronger, but they use weighting to kind of help get that launch up a little more. Hello, toe ball. Yikes. What I'm surprised about, and the biggest thing that we've seen in the fittings with the 225 was the jumpiness, the knuckleballs. We're still getting pretty decent spin out of this for this style of iron. I mean, 127 ball speed, it's pretty good. I hit one more. That was a little bit heel in the ground right at the golf ball. Yeah, it kind of knuckled on me. There we go. With these larger heads, and I can kind of feel how the head is sitting on the ground. It's like that loft just kind of wants to open up on me. So I'm having a hard time kind of like wanting to stay down through it. I mean, that's why I was saying I think this is a great iron for that sweeper, just because a little bit stronger loft. It's going to kind of help that spin and launch window stay where it needs to be. I mean, hard to beat that iron I just hit right there. All in all, great feel. I mean, I think this is probably, to me, the best feeling iron in the new Pro Series. I think if we're for a current Mizuno player or a current cavity back blade style player, it's definitely kind of a good series to throw in if you're looking at some new irons, because we have a lot of different shapes, a lot of different weights. So you can really dial in at what exactly you're looking for, and also it makes it easier to definitely combo the 243s to the 245s. I think the 241s, to me, you're probably, if you're going to play that iron, you probably want to play it all the way through. I think that's probably the outlier in the bunch, because these definitely have that soft feel, which is really nice. That 241 just feels a little harsh, and I just think it might just be that sole design. But all in all, I mean, we'll look at the numbers more in depth here, but they feel really good. I mean, so looking at some data here, I mean, if we kind of read off of Mizuno's website, we can kind of see it here in my day, and I had a lot of mishits in there. Looking at the 241, we're launching it at 19 degrees, 5,800 spin, which is what's to be expected out of that blade. But then we go down to the 243, 245, launching it slightly higher, 19.1, 19.6. Yes, we lost about 500 RPMs of spin, but we gained that with launch. And then if you switch over to the club data, we can kind of see us here with my dynamic loft. Dynamic loft, we're within a degree between the 241 to the 243, 245. I mean, 26.7, 241, 25.5, 25.4. That's what the 243, 245. And we're talking about from the 241 to the 245, 4 degrees of loft difference in that iron. So they are definitely interchangeable by all means. You know, if we want to go 243 in the scoring irons up to a 245 into the longer irons, this is definitely the set for you. We can kind of see. And the cool thing is, you don't even have to worry about bending the lofts. The lofts don't have to match. You don't have to have a perfect 4-degree gapping like we would always traditionally say. These companies are now doing it with the design of the clubs, with the weighting of the clubs. So I mean, Mizuno irons, they kind of always set the standard. And I would definitely say with the 243, 245s right there, they've kind of worked on that shaping from 2 years previous versions to now. And then the 241s, I mean, it's a blade. So if you like a blade, it's going to be a great iron for you. Well, this is the year we got a lot of new equipment coming out. So definitely follow for more tech reviews, for more encore stuff. I mean, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And we look forward to you on the next one.